Wow, imagine this, a remake of a video game that actually needs a remake. Who could have who could have foreseen this, guys? I'm shocked, honestly. I'm stunned. I'm honestly pretty happy about this, you know. From what I've heard, The Witcher is a very good franchise. I've only ever played the third game. And, you know, from what I've seen, the first two games have aged like milk. Especially the first game. Actually, from the gameplay I've seen, again, I haven't played it, it even looks outdated for the time it came out. So, it really needs this remake. But you know who is really upset about this? It's honestly a dumb question at this point. It's the PlayStation fanboys. They don't like this. They're mad. See, PlayStation fanboys, their brains just don't work like ours, okay? Their brains are incapable of rational thought and have been severely affected by the amount of copium they've been huffing over the years. They don't seem to understand why people are excited for this game but very critical of PlayStation remakes. And they also seem to be very confused on what is the difference between a remake and a remaster. Anyway, we all know what happens next. I'm gonna go on Twitter, find some stupid PlayStation fanboy tweets about the situation and make fun of them for your entertainment. So let's get into that.
Do people like remakes now? No outrage, right? Are remakes cool again? Just asking for clarification.
Yeah, it's almost like when there's a remake of a video game that came out like 15 years ago that, you know, has aged incredibly poorly and is almost unplayable by today's standards, that when a game like that gets remade, it actually makes sense and people don't get upset. Which is completely different from, you know, remaking a game that came out like 3 years ago that is completely playable on most modern systems. It's almost like those two situations are completely different.
Last of Us Level remake had gamers seething, but now they're celebrating?
Yeah, it's almost like there's a difference here. You know, Last of Us originally released on the PlayStation 3 like 8 or 9 years ago, and then it was remastered and released on the PS4 like I believe 1 or 2 years later, so like 2014, 2015, and now the PS5 is out and they're remaking the game again, although I'd say it's more of a remaster than a remake, but we're not gonna get into that right now. Re-release it again on the PS5 for $70 this time, which is more expensive than the original. So yeah, I'd say that releasing a game constantly every couple of years on a new platform for full price and actually making the game more expensive with this newer release is completely different than remaking a game that came out 15 years ago once.
If it was made by PlayStation, what would gamers and journalists' opinions be? It's not worth $70? I bet we get the exact opposite. Watch these same complaints, The Last of Us Part 1 remake, they had for similar games get turned around.
Yeah, so we don't know the price of the game yet, and seeing as most companies besides PlayStation and I guess Activision still price most of their games at $60 and sometimes even at $50, I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say that the game is probably not gonna be $70. Also, like, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing again, but I just quickly want to point out that a lot of the complaints made against The Last of Us Part 1 simply just don't apply here.
Well, remakes are cool again for some other platform user, as it's not PlayStation doing it.
Yeah, because PlayStation does remasters weird. Instead of remastering or remaking older games that could really use an update, they tend to take games that came out like 5 years ago, like Horizon Zero Dawn, and remaster them for no fucking reason whatsoever, and then release them for full price, even though the original game is still available on most modern hardware. Like, I'm pretty sure you can just play Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS5, it doesn't need a remaster to come out. And even if you can play it on the PS5, then they should just port the original game. They don't need to make a fucking remaster. They also don't seem to know the difference between remakes and remasters. A remake is when you take an older game and you build it completely from the ground up and you reimagine it. You add new ideas to the game. Like with, you know, Resident Evil 2, that remake. It is not remaking the game exactly like the original was, but with better graphics. It's just a remaster, right? So I don't give a fuck that it says remake on the box of The Last of Us Part 1. It's a remaster. I don't care that it was built from the ground up. From what I've seen, the gameplay and levels are exactly the same. The only thing that's different is the way the game looks. Let me know, by the way, if I'm wrong about that and the gameplay has been changed, but from what I have seen, it has not.
Don't worry, they will find a way to explain their contradiction. Even though they were never specific in the case of PlayStation and Naughty Dog remakes, I haven't seen one gamer even bring up the price yet, or free upgrade path if you own the original game.
Okay, so apparently every single time that we criticize Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, or any Sony studio for remaking or remastering a game that didn't need to be remade or remastered, we were never specific about what was actually wrong with those remakes and remasters, even though throughout this entire video I have been giving reason after reason as to why PlayStation gets critiqued for their way of remaking and remastering. None of those points actually make any sense whatsoever, guys. Do you now understand why I say that these people's brains literally must be rotting because they can't even comprehend the simplest fucking arguments? And yes, no one's even brought the price up yet because we don't know the price. With PlayStation remakes, it's very obvious what the price is going to be, $70, because every single new PlayStation release is $70. So even when the price has not yet been announced, we already know that it most definitely is going to be $70, unless they later reveal that it's not. In this case, we don't know anything about the price, and I'm not gonna assume it's $70 because most, studios and game developers don't release their games at $70. It's usually $60.
Don't forget about the free upgrade path complaints if you own the original version. How can gamers create standards for Naughty Dog and PlayStation but absolve every other publisher and developer of it? It's weirdo behavior.
Usually, when people ask or complain about a free upgrade path, it is regarding a remaster of a game that came out not too long ago. Like in this case, a game that has been released twice in the past decade. People want a free upgrade path because apparently The Last of Us is just gonna be released on every single PlayStation installment from now on. And people don't feel like they should pay full price every single time they want to play a video game they already bought like a couple years ago, which is completely fair. It is also completely different from wanting a free upgrade path for a remake, not a remaster, a remake of a video game that came out 15 fucking years ago. It's completely different. Mainly, I guess I'm gonna have to explain, mainly because on modern hardware it's pretty difficult to play The Witcher 1, except for if you have like a PC. Also, The Witcher 1 is incredibly outdated, and most people haven't played The Witcher 1 because, again, it came out in 2007. On the other hand, The Last of Us came out twice in the last 10 years. Most people who wanted to play it have played it and have bought it somewhere in the last 5 years and don't feel like paying $70 to play it again. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap the video up here. I've got some other videos coming. I'm sorry for not uploading in like a week. But I've got some videos that are not fanboy related coming out. I think I said every single fucking video, but this time I mean it. They're actually gonna come out like tomorrow. And yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.